Okay, hello, it's Hamilton Fan 1705 here, and welcome to a mid-season review I'm going to do of the F1 season in this video. The things I'm going to cover is, first I'm going to do a team-by-team review on how each of the team's seasons have gone. Then I'm going to discuss who will win the Mercedes battle. And then I'm going to talk about whether Williams, Ferrari, Force India or McLaren will win a race this year. Then I'm going to talk about Sauber, what is going on at Sauber. And then I'm going to talk about the GP2 series. And then I'm going to talk about the GP3 series. I'm including GP2 and GP3 because they are basically part of Formula 1 as their support series. So I've included them into the review as well. So, let's start off with the team-by-team review. Mercedes, obviously they are the team to beat. They will probably have the constructors wrapped up way before the end of the season, seeing as they do easily have the quickest car, and they'll probably win most of the races. If I'm honest, I just don't really see anyone having a chance of beating them unless it rains, or like it did in Hungary, or both cars have a problem like they did in Canada. So that is Mercedes. Obviously, Nico Rosberg and Lewis Hamilton are the drivers fighting for the title. And now, Red Bull. I think they might win another race this season. But Christian Horner said that they're probably not going to have a chance till Singapore at earliest. I actually kind of agree on that one, because Spa and Monza, the Renault-powered cars will probably struggle at Spa and Monza because they have probably the slowest engine, like in a straight line. And I think they will probably be behind all the Mercedes-powered teams, at least Red Bull will. Spa, but I think Singapore, possibly, because there's not many straights on that track, like not very many long straights where the Mercedes have a major advantage. So Red Bull, I think, will have their next chance to win a race in Singapore. Ferrari, they are struggling, but still, Alonso has been very consistent to be able to get his car into... Well, that sounds a bit wrong. To be able to get himself into fourth in the current standings. That's because Alonso, I know, is the only person who has scored points in every race, but still the car isn't capable of challenging for podiums regularly. And they have a slower car at the moment than Mercedes, Red Bull and Williams. And if anything, they're slipping away from those teams, and they're actually falling into the clutches of teams like Force India and McLaren. So Ferrari, they really do need to get their act together. And obviously Alonso has been the consistent one. Raikkonen has had a terrible season. I don't see him continuing at the end. I can see him retiring at the end of this season, to be honest. I can see him breaking his contract. I think his time of competitiveness is done. I don't see him ever getting another win in F1 again. He's only on 27 points. Even though he did have his best race of the season in Hungary, I don't see him winning an F1 race again. But I don't really see him finishing on the podium again, in fact. Next team I'm going to talk about, Force India. Obviously, they're my favourite team, as you know from my Twitter and everything. They have had a very good first half of the season. Obviously, Hülkenberg is in 7th in the standings, ahead of the likes of Button, Massa, Magnussen, Perez and Raikkonen. So, Hülkenberg's been... The thing I like about Force India's lineup this year is Hülkenberg has been the consistent one, and Perez has been the one where, when he has a good race, he really has a good race. For example, we saw in Bahrain and almost in Canada before what happened on the last lap. So, and I think they're going to be really strong around Spa and Monza, because one, they have been historically good tracks for them. Two, they obviously have the Mercedes power unit, and they'll probably at least be faster than all the other power cars, and they're consistently battling with teams like Ferrari as well. Can they win a race this year? To be honest, considering Mercedes' pace, I doubt that. But I think they could get quite a few more podiums this year. So, next team I'm going to talk about is McLaren. They did have kind of a difficult start season despite the double podium in Australia. But they are on par with teams like Force India and almost Ferrari. Jenson Button is currently 8th with Kevin Magnussen, who has been a great rookie this year, in 10th. And McLaren, I think, are in a similar situation to Force India in terms of where they'll win a race win. Well, that sounds wrong. Win a race win. That sounds wrong. Where they'll have a race win this year. So I doubt that considering Mercedes' pace. But like Force India, they're probably going to be strong in Spa and Monza because of the Mercedes power unit. I think I might have missed Williams. Not sure if I did, but I'm going to talk about them again. But Williams, I think they are the only team other than Mercedes and Red Bull who have a possibility of winning a race this year now for the remainder of the season. Have a big chance. Monza, I think, will be their chance because they have the fastest car in a straight line. And obviously, there's a lot more straights and corners round Monza. And I really do think that they can do it in Monza. Next team I'm going to talk about is Toro Rosso. I think they've had their best season so far since 2008, despite all the reliability issues. And they're not that far off McLaren and Force India. But the thing that's really halting them is reliability. And Verne is currently 13th with Kvyat in 15th. But I think Kvyat is the better driver in my opinion. He's just had a lot more reliability issues than Verne has. For example, Monaco, Canada, Germany, Hungary as well, with stalling on the formation lap. So I think Kvyat is the better driver out of the two. But I can see Toro Rosso consistently being in the points for the remainder of the season. Lotus, they are having a tough time. What is going on with them? They were battling for race wins this time last year. And they've been working on their car. They said they've been working on their car since 2011. So they really do have no excuse for it. Yes, they may have had financial problems in the off-season, but they seem to have been solved now. They didn't make a mistake by missing the first test in Jerez. They thought quite a few teams would, but no one else did. But I don't really think that's made a difference. I think it's the Renault power unit that has really halted them. And they keep saying they're going to have a competitive surge. And just that, in Silverstone they said they'd have it. And in Germany they said they'd have it. And in Hungary they said they have it. And that's not happened at all. So I only see Lotus being in the points for another 2 more races this season. And I don't think Maldonado will get any points this year. I think Grosjean will get all the points. 1, because he's the better driver, and 2, Maldonado gets involved in way too many incidents. Next team, Marussia, they had their best season so far. Particularly with the points that Bianchi got in Monaco. It was so good. I do really hope that Max Chilton can score points. Because this year I have really got to like Marussia. Before I much preferred Caterham, but because of the way that Fernandez treated the team this year, I've kind of lost interest in them, and I'm kind of interested in Marussia now. Just because they are just a lot more dedicated to F1 than Caterham are. I do really hope we will see Max Chilton score points. I doubt that will happen, but I do really hope that happens. He has improved a lot this year. He's no longer like the driver that everybody was criticising last year. And he's really improved a lot. And obviously back to the team, Malaysia, can they score points again? I'd say that's a slight possibility because Singapore will have quite a high attrition rate, I can tell, because of the fuel saving issues, a 2-hour race. So I think they might have their chance. Sauber, I don't really see them scoring points this year. I actually do think, as I said at Silverstone, I do really think that the end of the season could come and Sauber might not have scored points because they have really struggled. They haven't got a bad driver lineup. Sutil we obviously know is a good driver when he was at Force India, and Gutierrez, I don't think he's bad. He just does make quite a few mistakes, but I don't really think Gutierrez is a bad driver or anything. He's in a mediocre car. So I think there's a high chance that Sauber might not score points this season. Caterham, they have had kind of a turbulent season so far. They obviously started the season under ownership from Fernandez, then they got sold on the week of Silverstone to those mysterious Swiss investors, including Christian Albers as team principal. And they seem to have improved since Albers and the Swiss investors took control of the team. They seem to have been a lot closer to Marussia and Sauber. Can they score points? Doubt it. I just don't think that they have a good enough car. Maybe next year, if they can build a good car next year, but this year I doubt it will happen. So that is the team-by-team review. Next up, who will win the Mercedes battle? That's a tough one, but it's a very short answer to this question. I think if Hamilton gets the luck and doesn't get involved in any incidents, I think he will win the championship. But I think if luck turns against Hamilton like it has done in the first half of the season, I think Rosberg will win the title. That's the short answer. Next, can Williams, Ferrari, Force India or McLaren win a race? Williams, I think they can. Obviously, I said earlier that in Monza they have the fastest car in a straight line by far. And in Monza, I think their chance will come. And if they do, I think it will actually be Bottas who does it. I wouldn't be surprised if Massa does it, but I think if they do, then it will be Bottas that does it for them. That would be good to see Valtteri get his first ever win in F1. Ferrari, to be honest, don't really see it happening. They just don't have a good enough car. Obviously, Alonso, we know he almost won in Hungary, but I think that is the only chance that he's going to have this year. And he missed that chance because Ricciardo passed him 3 laps from the end. Force India, obviously I said earlier, I doubt it considering Mercedes' pace. Same with McLaren, I think they'd have a chance of winning a race if Mercedes weren't so dominant, but Mercedes are, and I just don't think they're close enough. Sauber, what is going on now? Next. I just don't really know what has happened to Sauber over the winter, because over the testing, they didn't seem like they had a bad car. They didn't seem to have a car actually as bad as it was, that it actually is. It didn't really seem as bad. And Sauber have got probably the third worst car on the grid by far. They're quite a way off the next best team, and that is Lotus. And as I said, I think the end of the season could come, and they might not have scored points, just because they just don't have a good enough car. Their car is just terrible. To be honest, if I was Sauber, I'd be abandoning this year and focusing development on the 2015 car to get back to where Sauber was in 2012 and 2013, where they were challenging teams like Ferrari and maybe Mercedes and Red Bull. Now onto the GP2 series. Who will win the title in GP2? Will Palmer win the title? I think Jolyon Palmer will win the title this year, because it seems there's only, like, if I'm not mistaken, there's only 10 races left of the season. I think it's Belgium, Italy. No, I think it's 8 races left. I think there's only Belgium, Italy, Russia, and Abu Dhabi left on the GP2 calendar. And I think even if Palmer has, like, a drop in form like Coletti did, I just don't see people like Nasser and Van Dorn closing the gap in just that amount of time. We know that Palmer is mega consistent, so I think Palmer does pretty much have the GP2 Championship won. Will he go to F1? Doubt it. I just don't think he brings the funding. I do really hope he gets to F1. That would mean another British driver on the grid. And in terms of excitement, GP2, it's kind of been a mixture of good and bad races this year. For example, we've had some absolutely stunning races in GP2 this year. And they were in races like the first race of Bahrain, which saw quite a lot of action. Monaco race 1. And obviously both of the races in Germany. Germany was an absolutely thrilling weekend in GP2. In fact, all around, Germany was a thrilling weekend that saw lots of action in the F1, GP2, but not so in the GP2, which I'll go on to later, in a moment after the GP2. But we have had some dull races in GP2 this year, such as races like Spain race 1, Monaco race 2, unfortunately Silverstone race 2, which is the race that I was at. And obviously I said that wasn't a really a very good race at the time, unfortunately. Obviously I would have liked to see a good race during the GP2 race while I was there. But it's I think GP2 this year has been a mixture of good and bad races. But GP3, what is going on with GP3 this year? The races are regularly dull. An okay race is the best we've seen all season. We've not seen any good races this year in GP3, and I really don't know why. I mean, last year was a great season in GP3. We saw quite a bit of action in most of the races. Lots of action. I just really don't know what has happened. They said that last year was bad and they were trying to improve it for this year. But if they say last year was bad, then it has got a lot worse this year. The races are regularly dull in GP3. We'll continue watching it, but the organisers need to do something. They need to at least go back to the way they were running the cars last year, where the racing was a lot more exciting. Because last year, we saw good racing with this new car. And I don't really think they've done many changes to the car apart from adding those flaps onto the front wing. But they said they were trying to improve the show, but they have not done that at all. They've kind of made quite a few people stop watching GP3i, probably, because it's not seen any good races. In terms of the title battle, I think Alex Lynn, just like Jolyon Palmer, has the title won. I don't see Jimmy Eriksson closing it, especially as there's only 4 weekends left in GP3. So I think Alex Lynn, I think, as I said on Twitter, I think Alex Lynn might get the drive at Toro Rosso next year, alongside Kvyat. I think Vern will be ditched, because no one has stayed beyond 3 years, and Vern's had his 3 years in Toro Rosso. If Vern does stay, he'll break the record for most years spent in a Toro Rosso after Sebastian Buemi. But I think Vern will get ditched next year for Alex Lynn. Kvyat was in the same situation, and he got promoted, and he's done really well. So I think Kvyat and Lynn would actually be a very strong lineup. But back to the discussion, I think Alex Lynn has the title won. But what they say that they should try to do something to improve the show. Well, Buxton said on the broadcast of Hungary they should try to do something to improve the show in GP3. But what I think they should do is just get back to everything that they were doing last year, where the racing was a lot more exciting. Because then the series will be back to where it should be. So, anyway, that is it for my mid-season report. Also, ReviewTIJ, I'm sure you all know who he is running a live stream, which unfortunately I'm unable to attend. He's running this stream to raise money for Click Sergeant. The link to it is in the description. I recommend you do donate, as it's for charity. The stream will take place on, I believe it's Sunday and Monday. It's a 24-hour stream. And I recommend you do donate, even if you can't attend the stream yourself. It's for charity, so I recommend you do donate, even if it's just £1. Because even just £1 can make a difference. Anyway, thank you for watching. And I'll see you for my next video.